Welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined by my good buddy Matt.
I went to a fantasy football draft the other day dressed as a wizard.
There was that one commercial that was like, that they came as like a centaur?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was also, fantasy football was also my Halloween costume one year.
Oh, what did you do? It was like a wizard?
It was like wizard robe, lawn beard, and a football helmet.
Nice. I think that what the commercial I'm thinking of is a Snickers commercial, because I think they're like, eat a Snickers. You're not right.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. So this is the first episode of the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. If you have not listened to a podcast by us before, it's because, well, it's been lost in another YouTube channel. But we've been doing these kind of podcasts for a few years now. We'll be into our third full year doing this, but this will be our first year doing this under the Virtual Ball Boys name, and we're changing the format a bit. A lot of the past podcasts for us have been, we try to really stick up with the analytical, analysis heavy crowd, and try to act like we're like the biggest experts in the world with football, and especially me. But I kind of wanted to move away from that a little bit and focus more on having a little bit more fun, and kind of bring in things that we care a lot about in terms of the football world, and also just other things like the gaming world. Goko's is a big animation guy, music guy as well. So I think there's things that we want to tie in that to us that make it more of a personal experience.
Try to bring the jocks and the nerds of the world together.
Right. Unite the two. Even though we would never hang out with any of these football players, probably.
Oh, no.
Well, so that's the
way
basis.
Too uncool.
This is the basis of our podcast, really, is that we, as much as we love football, we would never touch the field. We'd almost never hang out with any of the players. Maybe Justin Tucker. I mean, that's the only one I could think of.
Oh yeah, Justin Tucker. I want to have a sit down conversation with him.
Yeah, or maybe Von Miller, the nerdy football player that he is.
Yeah.
But so it's been a lot. There's been a long off season that we've had, and there's a lot that we need to process and kind of narrow down into a little bit of a segment. So for our very first segment of the podcast, we're gonna do something called, you know what's weird, Matt? You know what's weird?
What's weird?
The fact that Odell Beckham Jr. is no longer a Giant. I was, as a Giants fan myself, I've very much loved watching OBJ during his career, and at times, while it was, a little dramatic at times, a lot, dealing with a lot of penalties and that he's caused on the field, and some off the field stuff, even though that wasn't really too much on there, he was causing some trouble with the Giants organization. They felt like they needed to trade him. I personally hate that they did. I feel like he was a generational talent. He's proven it in his career thus far. It's really sad that he's no longer part of the Giants and that he's just gone, and they're going to rely on Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard and all these guys to kind of fill that role that we just know that they can't. And to lose him as early as we did in his career, it's gonna be so hard to build from that. And the Browns, they get a great player, and it's a part of the reason why the Browns are so hyped this year is that they have this great weapon for Baker Mayfield to throw to. So it's a little weird there.
Yeah, that's weird. I think that the Browns especially just got a much better offense as a result of this trade.
Yeah.
You know what else is weird? Speaking about the Giants.
Oh, yes. What about them?
They drafted Daniel Jones in the NFL draft at pick number 7, which they probably didn't need to if they really wanted him. But what's even weirder is that Daniel Jones was a good football player during the preseason. He balled the fuck out.
Yeah. And it's crazy.
Yeah, this is the end of Eli Manning era in New York, just because of how well I forgot his name.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones played.
He's so memorable thus far that he's just forgetting it. He has such a milquetoast name.
Yeah, it's like Jones especially is one of those like last names that is really hard to like remember. There's not much unique about it. And then Daniel.
It is basically, if you were doing like a cover boy of like, this is the white football player, like that's Daniel Jones.
That's Daniel
Jones
Jones
right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it, and I think that a lot of people are kind of surprised by the way he's played, and I think Dave Gettleman's doing a little jig for himself that he feels like he made the right choice by doing this. So I'm interested in seeing how it plays out for my team. I think they're going to still not do good this year, but hey, we might have a quarterback.
You could have had Daniel Jones and OBJ though.
Right, exactly my point. But you know what does the opposite of tickle my peach?
What's that?
Tyreek Hill. We spent a lot of the early offseason talking about this incident where supposedly he may have broken his child's arm. And we discussed with our previous podcast, that there's may be a chance that Tyreek Hill may never come back. Not only is he back, he didn't even get suspended, and supposedly it was because of his spouse not cooperating, and supposedly there's just not enough evidence there that he did break the arm. He did threaten his spouse over in a recording that was released, saying that you should be scared of me. And it's a very scary dude overall. And I don't want to sit here and be like he definitely broke the child's arm, but it is a little weird that the NFL didn't really do anything to suspend him, whether that be good or bad, but it's not a good look, and we're entering a season where he's going to be the top weapon for the Chiefs, and we're just going to be totally cheering him on, even though he seems like he has some issues.
Yeah, I think that with Hill versus how they handled Kareem Hunt, because they released Kareem Hunt right away, but didn't do that with Tyreek Hill. I don't think there was going to have been much of a chance in retrospect that Tyreek Hill was going to get disciplined or even released from the team. So they must have had something more maybe than what we know as to why Tyreek Hill wasn't going to be disciplined either legally or by the NFL.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird situation, but I mean, I'm still excited to watch the Chiefs this year, so we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. Chris, do you know what really plucks my pickle?
What's that?
So the Arizona Cardinals, after spending a first-round pick last year on quarterback Josh Rosen, they trade him away to get top quarterback Kyler Murray in the draft, and now Josh Rosen is in Miami in a backup role, which is a little weird, especially behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. So either Josh Rosen just isn't being given the chance he deserves, or he's just not that good of a quarterback. It's still hard to tell. I think that the reason that with Miami is going with Fitzpatrick right away is because Fitzpatrick always starts the season extremely well. But Rosen will definitely finish the season.
Yeah, I would expect that too. I mean, I think that you have... Rosen seems like he has... You look with him, he's mostly played with the twos in their preseason, but he looks like he can make some throws, and I don't think that a guy he drafted 10th overall and like flop this hard, this early in his career. He deserves a chance, and I think that, I mean, I love trust me, I love Fitzmagic, but I'm hoping that there is that Rosen gets some chance in Miami, even though they're also getting rid of a ton of players there, so I have no idea. And as for the Cardinals, like, it is weird that they just gave up a quarterback after 1 year, and they're going with this entirely new system. Will it work?
New system, new coach, new offensive scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm a fan of running more plays as opposed to running fewer plays.
Yeah.
So that's already an improvement.
Yeah, definitely. You know what really eats a plate of penis for me?
What's that?
The pass interference challenges that have been introduced into our football landscape. So before the Saints controversy that happened in the NFC Championship game, the pass interference was never something that coaches could challenge, and now it is. And you can challenge for if you believe a pass interference was wrongly called, or if you feel like a pass interference should have been called. Either way, it gets reviewed, and the problem is that you might see a lot more stoppages in game. That's one thing, and that's a big deal. But my big issue is that pass interference as a whole, as a penalty, is so open to interpretation. So I don't know if I feel comfortable with this whole idea that we're going to be throwing these challenges out, and basically, however the refs interpret what pass interference is, that's what's going to decide potentially huge moments of games. And I just see this being a disaster, and it makes you question. It may even make you question why even have pass interference as a penalty in the first place.
I think that, well, I understand why it's there in the first place, but this is a huge, I think, overreaction or overcorrection to the plays in the NFC Championship game in particular, and I think one in the Super Bowl as well, that just blatant pass interference getting in the way of a play happening. Saints fans got their wish. We'll see if it ends up in a Super Bowl this year.
Right. I mean,
with this new change.
Yeah, this is the change that the Saints that because ultimately there was so much backlash from one of the most biggest fan bases for the NFL. The Saints, or at least the New Orleans area, they love football, and so there was so much backlash for this thing that happened that ultimately it caused such an avalanche of the negative feedback essentially from the NFC Championship game, and there's just no way, shape, and form that if there wasn't as much of a visceral reaction, that this would be even considered in the league meetings. If that penalty never happened, we never would be talking about any of this stuff. And so
exactly. It's among other plays that like throughout the season may have skewed some things one way or another. This is the one that just got the most amount of attention, and it's probably the one that, or it's definitely the one that caused this rule to become a thing.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm very curious to see how that ends up all playing out. I'm hoping that it's not. I'm hoping it doesn't hinder our watching of football, though. That's my big thing.
Right, I totally agree. Hey, Chris, you know what sends my fish up the fish tube?
What's that?
A lot of players, big name players, are currently in contract holdouts. 3 in particular being Melvin Gordon, Ezekiel Elliott, and Trent Williams. And it's not really the players themselves who are sending my fish up the fish tube, but it's their general reaction to them. These players have a limited career, especially Gordon and Zeke being running backs. They sacrifice so much of their body to play this sport, and they want to make sure that they're being taken care of. So I understand why they're doing it. However, it's interesting from the team standpoint just how they seem to value how much they need the players. Because neither Zeke nor Gordon have a contract right now. Gordon will not report week 1, nor do I think that he will report at all until he gets a new contract, maybe later on in the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with Ezekiel Elliott, it's kind of, I mean, we're kind of like, we're recording this on a Monday afternoon. By the time this goes up, he might be back with the team by now. So we do want to just preface that when we do upload this, that there's a chance that Elliott would be back by then. But Gordon is seeking a trade, and Trent Williams has just flat out said, "I am no longer playing for the Washington Redskins." So there is these. At least 2 of the 3 players, they don't look like they're going to be returning at all to their teams, and probably another franchise will be willing to pay whatever money that they want on that front. But Elliott might get what he wants, but there's a lot of negotiation right now, and it doesn't seem like it's good at the moment.
Nope. It's the news seems to be going back and forth on whether or not they're actually making progress.
Yeah.
And the recent tick on the metronome has been not close at all.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, I mean, look, I'm with you. I think that it's ridiculous that we are sitting here and having to debate the value of these players and what they deserve to be paid. If you see the market, if you see, like, you have to consider what the workload for all of these players are, and if you're getting a steady workload, which Melvin Gordon would and Ezekiel Elliott certainly would, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to pay them full price for it.
Right.
You do have to consider cap space. You do have to understand that you want to be able to play. You want to be able to pay everyone. You just have to make the choice of, who should I keep long term, and who's a little bit more expendable. Maybe they think, like, maybe these franchises just think the running backs are expendable, which is a sad fact, but it's kind of true. You get some of these really good running backs are like second round or third rounder type guys that end up breaking out.
Le'Veon Bell is a good example of that. Last year, he left Pittsburgh. Everyone was signaling doomsday, and James Conner was as good as Bell, if not better.
Right. I think it's a shame.
The team circumstances around are sometimes the bigger contributing factor than the player himself.
Right, exactly. And I think it's a fascinating thing. We'll see how long those holdouts last, or if they'll finally land on teams. Those are three major stars that could have an impact on how the NFL landscape changes.
Yeah.
So you know what shoves my entire fist up my asshole and wiggles it around?
What's that?
The AFC South is a clusterfuck at the moment because
yes,
Andrew Luck is out. He retired, and it doesn't frustrate me that he retired. I hate the fan reaction to it, or at least the initial fan reaction to it, that everyone was pissed off at him. It was
ugly. Ugly showing of Indianapolis.
And I don't know. I feel bad for him that he was not able to kind of do his full career because of the injuries that he had. I feel terrible for him, and for the Indianapolis Colts team and the fan base too. I feel terribly for everyone in the situation. I mean, I'm hoping that whatever he does next, he's happy. And as for the Colts right now, I personally found the Colts to be runaway favorites for this division, but that obviously takes a big step.
For me,
back.
It was not even runaway favorites for the division. Like, it was Colts will win the Super Bowl.
I think that the Colts could have won the Super Bowl absolutely with this roster that they had, and with Luck taking a backseat, I see, I see Jacoby Brissett going in, and I think, with the talent that's on that team, that will keep. And Brissett, all he has to do is not make any major mistakes, and this team could still win a lot of games, and I still think has a good chance at winning the division. I don't think we can count them out at all. But it definitely brings them back to the pack, and then you have the Texans, who, in the course of the last few days, have completely remade their roster a bit. They traded away Clowney for like 2 linebackers and a 3rd-round pick, which is ridiculous. Clowney's no longer there, and J.J. Watt is really your premier defensive player on that defense, and everyone else is kind of like, very much behind on that front. And then you have the offense, which they did trade for Laramie Tunsil from Miami Dolphins, which is a great left tackle.
Oh yeah,
he's excellent at the position, so that's gonna be good to protect Deshaun Watson. But the rest, and you still have Deshaun Watson, of course, and you still have wide receivers. The running back situation is a little dicey though, because they lost Lamar Miller in the preseason to ACL tear, and they did get Duke Johnson, and they do have Carlos Hyde now that they traded from the Chiefs. So there's the whole remaking of some of these position groups for this team, and I'm very, very curious to see how it ends up playing out for them if it works out. I mean, they won 11 games last year.
I think Watson's good enough of a leader that it'll work out for them in the end.
I think so too. It's just I don't think that they are going to be like a juggernaut defense that like people want them to think, just because.
I don't think so either.
Just because I mean, they weren't amazing, like with Clowney, but like without him, that's a huge piece of your defense that you just traded away and didn't get any upgrades for. So it's very weird, but I think that the AFC South is just wide open right now. I have no idea who's going to win it. It's going to be
I
fascinating to
seriously,
watch.
yeah, I have no idea which one of these teams is actually going to be stable enough to win the division.
Yeah, it's crazy, and but it's the fun of football where we get to kind of look at something and be like, "This is wide open. Let's see it play out."
Yeah. Hey Chris, you know what really poisons my water supply, burns my crops, and delivers a plague onto my house?
Okay, wow. What?
All the Antonio Brown nonsense that has happened this offseason in the past few months, few weeks even. Look, the Steelers traded him away. He was probably the most recognizable Steeler name, in on the team, and you trade him away because he wanted to be traded. He was doing weird stuff there with the locker room, and it just wasn't a good time. So you trade him away to the Raiders, and everyone thought that was a dumb thing. And now I feel like the Steelers feel pretty happy with themselves because Brown shows up to training camp in a hot air balloon to try to outdo all the other training camp arrivals, and then can't practice because his feet have been frozen in cryotherapy or whatever happened. I'm not even certain.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but just weird that he let it get to that point, and weird that he was just in that place in the first place. So he couldn't practice because of his feet, and then it seemed that was used as a distraction or a reason to not practice simply because he didn't like the helmets that they were making him wear. And he has not really tried to work with people, it seems, on using the right helmet, even showing up to practice with his old helmet painted like the Raiders helmet, but with the wrong shades of black and gray, which is hard to mess up because it's black and gray.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That totally happened. And then they were like, "Dude, you can't do that." And then he got mad and left. It's a mess. He keeps trying to go through an arbitration process to let him use his own helmet. He's been offered other solutions, but this dude can't play if he doesn't have a league approved helmet, and he's just gonna have to suck it up. I think that the Raiders are, with all that they have done this offseason, they are another team that is just going to fail again and again with the current system and management that they have in place. I bet that 10-year contract for Gruden is feeling really good right now.
I mean, well, so it sounds like Brown is going to be using a new helmet and is going to be back in camp, but it does really say a lot about him and about this franchise right now and the state of the franchise that they dominated headlines, and they were part of Hard Knocks this year, and it was just there was not one day that went by without talking about the Raiders in some capacity, and most of it was Antonio Brown. I just don't know if this team can get out of its own way. Certainly the roster looks better than last year, but it's still a long ways to go, and I mean, I don't know if this Brown experiment is going to work. He's a great talent. But
yeah, and if you look on the offensive side of the ball, having Derek Carr, who was good, could still probably be good if he gets in the right situation. Your receivers are Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams, who I think is a great who's a pretty good receiver, who could get a chance to flourish this year, maybe. But he's a good receiver and definitely better than ones they've had in the past. Josh Jacobs, first round pick, who played backup at Alabama.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It's going to be a mess in Oakland. They move to Vegas next year?
Yes, I believe so.
Goodbye, Oakland. Have the worst year of football.
I'll be curious to see how it all plays out for them, but it's going to be interesting. I just love the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. has been like the center of wide receiver diva attention for like the last 3 or 4 years. It's very nice to see to have that been shifted over at least a little bit over to Antonio Brown. It's just a nice feeling, even though he's no longer on the Giants. I still love him, so I'm glad that that's off him on that front. Yeah, so that was what was weird. Oh wait, excuse me, what was that?
We have a Matt Watch update.
Okay.
As of 8 days ago, quarterback Matt Moore signs with the Kansas City Chiefs to back up Patrick Mahomes.
Nice.
This has been Matt Watch.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Go Cubs. I appreciate it. So, anyways, now on to the next segment. So now that we've talked all about the preview, the everything that happened in this past season, and we talked a little bit about what's coming up. Would love to preview a little bit more and go into more details about some other teams. So let's do so, but instead of just talking about the teams, that's boring. Let's because we're dorks and we love video games, we're gonna compare the 2019 teams. To video games. So Go Cubs, or Matt rather. By the way, just so people know for this podcast, I do call Matt Go Cubs a lot. That is
a nickname of mine. I'm used to it.
That was his username for the longest time. So that's why you may have heard me say that once or twice already. So I apologize. So Matt, talk to me about a team that you have a video game comparison for.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars had a huge surge of popularity for a very short amount of time back in 2017 season. They were like everyone's favorite. They were not everyone's favorite, but they got super popular. They were a meme team who just got really good all of a sudden. They were prominently featured on the NBC show The Good Place. And this is all like in a span of like the 2017-2018-ish time period where they were the new hot thing. Everyone thought even in 2018 that they were Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, they very loved by millennials,
Yes, but things change. And now it's not so popular. And now it's like, why are you into that team? Why do you still play that game? The Jacksonville Jaguars are Fortnite. Really popular 2017-2018. Like took the media and world craze by storm. And was featured in a prominent pop culture thing. There was a scene playing Fortnite in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my comparison. And now, like, I don't hear anyone talk about Fortnite anymore because it was the fad. The Jaguars were the fad. I still want the Jaguars to do well.
Yeah.
But they're definitely the Fortnite of the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make a lot of comparisons too. Like, I feel like the Jaguars they broke their amazing defense completely broke down and their offense completely fell apart. And Fortnite, there's updates to the game that are happening that are very much like that people are not loving, and that's kind of what's turning people away from playing it as much. And so the popularity is going down. And there's, I can make a quick comparison. Like Minecraft is coming back into fashion, which was really popular around 2010, 2011. You know what else was popular around that time? The Indianapolis Colts, very early on, and they were rising in the division, of course, until Andrew Luck retired. But still, that popularity is coming back for Minecraft as well. And so it's just a shame the Jaguars are now just that they're where they're at, but Fortnite could have a resurgence, and maybe the Jaguars will do the same.
Yeah. All right, what's your comparison?
So, we talked a bit about Arizona Cardinals earlier. This new offensive system that Cliff Kingsbury is bringing up from his college days at Texas Tech. and it's this new system that we don't really know much about what they're doing with it. You know, it's something that really has not been done at the NFL level before, or it may not be. It may not have been used at the NFL before. It just seems like there's something new that's going to be made in Arizona that is going to take the lead potentially. That's what they're advertising it as. Maybe take the lead by storm, with Kyler Murray leading the way. And I compare this very heavily to a game that has not even come out yet in Death Stranding. Death Stranding has advertised itself as being a new game. This idea of they called it a strand game. That's the genre that they're going for, and it's a new way of playing the game. And even though you kind of watch it, you're like, it's open world exploration and, you know, some cinematic scene. Like it looks like another game like that. It doesn't seem like there's anything new there. And there's a chance that with the Cardinals, we might not see anything majorly new there. But it may still be a commercial success.
Yeah, we never know until it comes out.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that, and I'm excited to see what the Cardinals will do. What about you? Back to you.
All right, so the next team I'm gonna go with is the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys were very, very successful and very popular in the 90s. And to this day, they have a very dedicated fan base, despite the fact that they have done so little in the time since then. Very few playoff wins, no Super Bowls. Every once in a while, you get a good performance by them. Ezekiel Elliott's rookie year. Last year, they won the division. But they seem so few and far between, ranging from downright terrible performances to some hidden gems here and there. That is the exact same description that I give to Sonic the Hedgehog. Really good in the 90s, has a really dedicated fan base, still popular today, yet puts out such terrible performances on such a frequent basis that it's a wonder why they still have fans.
Yeah, I think that's a good description. Although it's just, I think it's just because it's advertised and Cowboys is shown everywhere, and Sonic is just continuously being talked about and all that. I think about I think about Sonic, and there is always, when a new game is announced, people are always excited about it. And when a new season starts for the Cowboys, people are always excited about it. And
then they don't do anything with it. You get Sonic Forces, which is just bad. Or you get last year's Cowboys, or 2 years ago Cowboys.
Yeah,
who
it just falls apart.
Everything just falls apart. Everything that you think you had, you don't have.
Yeah, and
you stick to the same formula. You gotta like change something up. You gotta fire Jason Garrett. You gotta do something.
Yeah, coaching staff does still bother me, but I mean, I do look at this team, this franchise right now. The roster looks very good right now, and if Ezekiel Elliott is present, I think that team can go a long distance, but it's just, you gotta prove it. And the same thing with the Sonic games.
Every Sonic game looks good until it comes out.
Exactly. You gotta, I'm just like, you're so excited to play it, and you play, you're like, what the hell is this? Yeah. So come on, Cowboys, just to break out of this stigma, and prove us all wrong, and get out of this rut that you're in. And it'll be interesting to see. Going back to the Giants for a second. I didn't really touch enough upon Eli Manning, because I appreciate what he has done when he was in his early career, when he took down the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's so satisfying, and I do respect he does have some nice records, or moving up in the record listings or whatever, and I get it. He has not been a good quarterback for a while now, and he's been continuously disappointing, and yet every year the Giants continuously want to run him out and want him to be the center of of this franchise and just continuously be part of it, even though it's going to continue to suck. And I compare Mr. Eli Manning and the New York Giants to Paper Mario, because in the early stages of Paper Mario, some of the best games of all time. The original Paper Mario that was on Nintendo 64. You have the Thousand Year Door.
Thousand Year Door is my personal favorite.
Was excellent.
Like you hit the first time with Paper Mario.
Yeah.
And that's the Giants beating the Patriots the first time.
Right.
And then you hit it the second time. That's the
big thing. Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah. And there's been some nice seasons. I mean, like 2008 was a great year after that. I mean, but it ended up leading to like a very early playoff exit, I believe, in 2008, if I'm not remember the year correct. Sorry, 2012. I might be thinking of that wrong. But there was like Super Paper Mario that was like, okay, it was good, but it wasn't great. And then the franchise has just completely floundered, and they keep on wanting to come out with games, and it's like, why are you doing this, and why are you hurting the good name that is Paper Mario? It is very weird to me that they keep on wanting to come out with them. Paper Mario Sticker Star, Paper Mario Color
putrid.
Splash.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sticker Star was putrid. Color Splash, I think, had something to it, but it still doesn't hold a candle to the originals.
Right, and like, I feel like you can make that comparison. That came out in 2016. You know what else was 2016? The Giants making the playoffs with their great defense, but then completely shitting the bed against the Packers. Mm-hmm. So I mean, look, I love Paper Mario, but it's just not the same franchise, and they maybe should consider either ending it or going back to the way it used to be, with a younger, Paper Mario, and going back to the younger days of Paper Mario, and maybe going to a younger quarterback for the Giants will be the way to go as well.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
All right, so this one's going to be a little bit of a stretch, but hear me out.
Sure.
The two games I'm comparing are, I'm going to start with the games this time.
Okay.
Are Super Mario Odyssey and A Hat in Time. Both 3D platformers that came out in 2017. That's not really the important part. But you have Mario, which for years has been the king, the top of the charts, top of the list. Like, this is the platforming standard that you need to uphold in this industry. Mm. And then you have A Hat in Time, where it's not necessarily traditional, or it's not part of a group with a long, successful history. Mm-hmm. But when you have Odyssey that is so well constructed and polished, from top to bottom, flaws here and there, of course, but overall has a structure for it. Mm-hmm. That is the Patriots. The Patriots are on top, and they have stayed on top for a really long time.
Yeah.
But you have something like Hat in Time, which it's not quite as polished. It's not quite as refined and successful as the history that Mario has had. But there is still something there. There is still a sense of something that could be greater. And when all the cylinders are firing at once, the game is something special. That is the Panthers for me. And I'm trying to like remove the Panthers fan in me from that. But you have Cam Newton. When he's healthy, he's great. When he was healthy last year, they started 6-2. Mm-hmm. You have Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the league. You have a very consolidated receiver core that the offense is the offense when it's when it's at its best, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then a defense which may not have been as strong in the past, but it's got some other pieces that could come together and make the defense better. It's not quite as refined as the Patriots, for example, but if all the pieces are firing at once and everything comes together at once, it could rival the King.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm as high on the Panthers as you are, but I mean, I think that they certainly have. I was looking at the roster yesterday, I think, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I think the defense can certainly. I mean, they got Jerome McCoy, they got Bruce Irvin, who hasn't really been at any peak in recent years, but in his early Seattle days, he was great.
Yeah, they still have Luke Kuechly, who's one of the best linebackers in the league.
Right, and Eric Reed as a safety has been great. And I think the offense too. The health of Cam Newton is the most important. Hopefully, he'll be healthy this week. We don't actually know for sure yet.
For everything I've seen, the foot's not going to be a concern.
Yeah, so
he's come back from that type of shoulder surgery too before, and Andrew Luck even just came back from that previous season.
Yeah, so I think that they have a potential, and like you said, I think Mario is a great comparison for the Patriots, even though that they don't have like a 70s, 80s, 90s very fruitful history. Certainly in the last 10 or 11 years, that the Patriots have been the peak of the NFL.
They have the history.
They have the history for sure. I think the last one I have for my comparison. I'm going to direct my attention back to the Miami Dolphins real quick. This team has no one, and it's really upsetting to see because there's nothing there that even remotely makes me think that this team is going to win more than 4 games. I mean, it's not looking good.
4 even seems high.
Yeah. It does, just because they're trading away a lot of great talent and rolling with backup quarterback or a young quarterback who hasn't yet really found his footing in the NFL. So this is going to be a very challenging year for them. So they're going to be laid back, and they're going to just chill, and they're just going to do their thing, because it's Brian Flores is just be like, you know what, for what I have here, I'm just going to make the best of it, and I'm going to live my life and coach the best of my ability and just go with this. Do what we can. It's another football season. Let's just do this. And that's Animal Crossing to me. I mean, I don't want to paint Animal Crossing as like, it's my favorite game of all time, so I don't want to be like, oh, it's shitty in all ways. Should we just go with it? But I think the laid-back era of just, like, you wake up every single day and you kind of do your same thing. You hunt for fossils or dig for fossils, hunt for bugs, interact with your villager. Like, do the usual tasks in Animal Crossing. You wake up every day and you pay off your loans and you do what you gotta do. That's the daily grind of Animal Crossing, and that's the daily grind that Miami Dolphins are going to do. They're not going anywhere. And Animal Crossing, you're not going anywhere spectacular. You're staying in one place. But you're going to do what's best while you can while you're in this one place. And if you can't do it, if you can't win a ton of games this year, then you're going to have the number 1 overall pick, and you just keep on going and you're going to keep on building from there. And there may be days in Animal Crossing where you're not going to do as well, but you're going to keep on going because there's another day ahead. So
there's also we as Animal Crossing fans are waiting for New Horizons to come out.
Yes.
Which is going to be
the wait for the fan base.
A great future, and there's a weight to it.
Yeah.
That we're waiting for right now. The Dolphins are waiting for their New Horizons.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I think that's I think definitely the fan base can definitely relate to this. That it's a great game, huge fan base, but we have to wait for the next game. We have to wait for the next great Miami Dolphins season. So that's that. That's that segment, and we have plenty of other things that we have in mind for future weeks. So stay tuned for that. But for now, we're gonna get to our main event of our podcast, and that is we're gonna pick games.
Games picking.
picking games.
Yeah.
But
so this is something that we've done. This is our third year in a row doing it. And do you mind if I just explain the rules?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So we straight up pick the games up and down, nothing across the spread, no confidence pool, just who's going to win this game. There's kind of two ways that we keep track of it. One of it is just our record, like how many do we get right, how many do we get wrong each week. But in addition to that, we also have a point system in place where we get 1 point for every team we get right, 0 points for every team we get wrong.
Yes.
We also put in traditional terms, we have a lock and an upset. In our terms, we have a guarantee, which is our lock, and if we get our lock right, it's the same number of points, just as normal. If we get our lock wrong, then we lose a point instead of staying at 0.
Yes.
And then, since we are part of Team Chaos Productions, of course, we have our Team Chaos pick every week, which is just our upset. If we get our Team Chaos right, we get 2 points rather than 1 point.
Correct.
And it's cool to see how everything works out in the end of the season. Chris and I usually stay neck to neck. There's times where I get ahead early on, but then Chris comes back. There's times where we virtually tie at the end of the season. It's a intense time, but it's a fun one.
Yeah, it's a lot. And last year Go Cubs came out on top after we got rid of a little loophole that was in place. Essentially, we had to worry about an injury report with AJ Brown or AJ Green rather. And we thought he was not going to be healthy or something, and
we thought he was going to be healthy, so I picked the Bengals. And then it came out that he was
not healthy.
Not healthy, not going to play. So I switched my pick to the Browns on the website, but did not tell Chris.
Yeah.
And so that was there was some.
It was not on the podcast, so I was like,
yeah.
we need to have it podcast official. But
yeah.
I think that from here on out we'll try to keep our picks on the podcast and stick to them.
Keep it the same.
Yeah, but
we could just paint last year as a tie as well.
Yeah, well, no, you won. You won. You
okay.
won fair and square. I'm totally fine with admitting that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and usually we've in the past done like deep dives into each game. We're not going to do that. We're just going to kind of give our reasoning maybe for each of our picks, but that's basically it. So with that being said, week 1, baby. Tomorrow when you guys are seeing this, or at least if you're watching on the day this goes up, it's the Green Bay Packers going to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears. And what do you think is going to happen in this one, Mister? Okay, so just to clear up real quick, you're a Bears fan first and a Panthers fan second.
Yes, I mentioned that earlier. The Bears are my primary team. Panthers are my number 2.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I forget if you said that or not.
I did not. We mentioned the Panthers earlier, so I talked to. So I.
Yes, you clarified. Yeah. So what do you think?
I have to go with the Bears. They're at home. They're the better team. Yeah. It's the 100th season for both the Bears and the NFL. The Chicago Bears are going to win the first game of the 100th season.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Packers, I think a lot of people want to ride high on because of Aaron Rodgers, as always. And I don't necessarily blame them. It's just this Bears team is a much more deep team all around. I certainly think the Packers have the better quarterback in the situation, but I do think that the Bears...
The rest of the Bears are better.
The rest of the Bears are better than the rest of the Packers, and it's at Chicago. They got the win last year in Chicago, so I think we could do the same this year as well. And also, it's first time head coach for Matt LaFleur. I think that's going to play a part of it too. So, Bears.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next, Atlanta Falcons versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings at home. What do you say?
I say...
What say you?
Well, I say... I'll go Vikings. Because the thing is, for me, I love the Falcons this year. But they have not proven it on defense over the years. Even though they were a lot injury-riddled last year, they still have not proven it to me on defense. And I'm a little worried about offensive line with rookies on it. So I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think that generally this is this Vikings offense could actually be really good this year if Kirk Cousins can show up in this game. It's a 1:00 game, so we don't have to worry about him right now. And then the defense is still deep. It's still very, very good. I love Mike Zimmer. I think he's going to do a good job. I'm going Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings are going to take a step up this year. Falcons, I think, will have some success, but but especially at home, the Vikings are going to take it.
Yeah, definitely. Division battle between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. It's a New York battle of sorts. But what do you think is going to happen in this game between two-year quarterbacks?
Yeah, this is a really interesting matchup, I think, because I think both of these are the two teams that are going to be fighting for the coveted second place in the AFC spot.
AFC East.
AFC East, rather.
That would be something, though, if there was second place in the AFC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that the skill level of Sam Darnold has shown itself off extremely well, and overall, I feel more confident about this Jets team than I do the Bills team. I don't think the Bills are going to be bad this year per se, but I still have more faith in the Jets.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think the Jets are very much a team that is like that. They have a lot of things going right for them. The big concern, though, for me is that secondary, the cornerback specifically. Cornerback position is not good. Safeties are good. Cornerbacks aren't. So that's going to be an issue with Josh Allen and his high flying fling the arm into space type of throwing that he does. But I do think Le'Veon Bell is going to be a big impact in the game. I think that Sam Darnold has a decent amount of weapons around him. I'm not a big huge fan about the Bills' weapons right now, so I'm going Jets.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Our next matchup, the Tennessee Titans at the Cleveland Browns. Both teams coming off of a hot finish to end the season. The Titans in particular, Derrick Henry, took them by storm to end the season off, and the Cleveland Browns are one of the biggest talks of the offseason, and a lot of people's favorites.
Yeah.
To turn around.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, the Titans, they did falter in the last game. They could have been a wild card in the playoffs, but ultimately the Colts pulled through. I'm gonna go with the Browns. I just think that they're a much more talented team, top to bottom right now, and I think it's gonna be a big first victory for this Cleveland team.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Not for the Browns, and I'm so confident in the fact that they'll win. I am guaranteeing them.
Oh, I like that. I like that lock a lot. I can't believe. Is that the first time you've guaranteed the Browns in our picks? It might be.
It's definitely the first time I have.
Okay. Oh, I accidentally started writing Titans and Browns in our Super Bowl picks. Whoops. Okay, I'm good. That wouldn't make sense. All right, so I'm going to do Browns over Titans in our guaranteed tracker. Okay. Sounds good. So, yeah, so far we're pretty much in lockstep. How about this? The Kansas City Chiefs at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now the Chiefs, of course, they're going to be they're coming off of the AFC Championship loss. They play close. Patrick Mahomes is back for his second year. Could be insane this year again. It should be a lot of fun, but the Jaguars defense may prove a test. Go Cubs, what do you think?
I think that the Jags defense is still going to take some time to get back to its prime form, and that's going to be hard against Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and whoever's starting at running back.
Yeah.
It's the Chiefs have the best offense in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe top two, like top second best at the lowest.
Yeah, it's up there though.
Yeah. So the Jacksonville's not going to be able to deal with that. The Chiefs still don't have a great defense, but the growing pains of Fournette and Foles and Dede Westbrook on the offense, it's still going to take a while for them to do something. So while I believe in the Jacksonville defense, the team itself hasn't done much since getting rid of Blake Bortles.
Bortles is the factor here.
Yep. That's the only reason I'm going with the Chiefs.
Excellent.
The Chiefs are the much better team.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one because I have a lot of faith in this team and that could make it all the way to the Super Bowl one for the first time since Super Bowl IV. Next up,
Next up,
yeah, you go. Yeah.
we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. This is the putrid performance in the Super Bowl by the Los Angeles Rams against the Carolina Panthers is going to be, I think, pretty one-sided, but anything could happen.
Yes.
With especially we saw what happened in the Super Bowl. So what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I love Sean McVay still. I know it was a tough loss for him, but I think this team can come back. I think this team was hurt, obviously, with Todd Gurley not performing at the level that he was last year. But I also think Cooper Kupp, his injury that ended up ending his season, I think was a big impact as well. I think he comes back and that helps this offense open up a little bit. And I think Todd Gurley, we don't know if he will be healthy or not, or if he'll be ready to go. It sounds like he will, but...
Yeah, and even if he's not fully healthy, I think that having Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson behind him will be a great way to have some depth there.
Yeah, so I'm going Rams.
Yeah, I am as well. As much as I want to have the Panthers pull an upset. And I would be, don't get me wrong, I would be flipping out if the Panthers won that game. But the Panthers will still have shots. The Rams are going to take this one.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens are going to Miami to take on the Dolphins. We've said enough about the Dolphins at this point, but the Ravens going into their first full year with Lamar Jackson at the helm. They lost some key defensive players, but they also gained Earl Thomas in the offseason. They also have Mark Ingram as the running back for them and drafted Marquise Brown to be a potential wide receiver, number one wide receiver. We'll see how that plays out for them. Will it work in this game, Mr. Matt?
Of course it will.
Just that's it. Yeah.
Miami has bad offense and a bad defense, and the Ravens have a good defense and a unique enough offense to...
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Unique enough offense that went 6-1 when Lamar Jackson was starting. Yeah. And the only loss was to the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it worked out. I think now that the offense is built around this idea of Lamar Jackson running, and Lamar Jackson's rushing efforts, as well as Lamar Jackson getting some more time to work on his passing.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a phenomenal Ravens team.
Absolutely.
That are going to destroy the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to destroy the Dolphins, and I do not think it's going to be relatively close, but we'll see. Maybe Ravens, something happens with that offense that doesn't work out for them, but I think the Ravens will be fine in this game.
Yeah, me too. All right, the Washington racial slurs visit Philadelphia.
Love it.
The Washington team has been historically injury ridden. I don't know what the deal is, but recently it seems like every player is injured. They don't make any exciting offseason moves to try to make their team better at all. And Dan Snyder's the worst owner in the league, going against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have Carson Wentz back, have Josh McCown back, who is going to save the Eagles season this year. He's going to take over for Foles and save the Eagles season. And they have, in all honesty though, like the Eagles are one of the most well-rounded teams, I think, in the league this year.
Yeah. On
both sides of the ball. It's going to be hard for Washington to do anything. Do you think they can?
No. Eagles are going to win. I think that as much as I want to, shit on my own team with the Giants, I think the Redskins are in a little bit more worse shape. Not that Julian Haskins might not, he might have a good career, but right now, with the way that this team is structured, it's just not a good team. And I think if there's any solace for this franchise, it's that their defensive front is pretty good, but everything else is a little questionable. I just don't think this team's going to win a lot of games, and I think the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders. So go pick the Eagles.
Sweet.
What about you? you kind of lead toward yours.
The Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Seattle Seahawks. Ah, man, I kind of wish this was a more competitive game, but
Yeah.
we'll never know. If, Andy Dalton's going to come through, and he's going to be without A.J. Green in this game, but Seattle's going to roll out Jadeveon Clowney and a new offense that has DK Metcalf and David Moore leading the way in the receiving group. So what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Early on in the offseason, I was actually kind of interested in what the Bengals could become, but then I realized that they don't have a defense and or an offensive line.
Yeah, offensive line fell apart.
Yeah. And they tried to do something to address the offensive line, and then injury happened. So I don't blame them much for that, but the defense part they're dropping the ball on. And like the Washington team, they don't really do anything to go for big players.
Yeah.
Or make moves or want to have a successful organization. So Bengals are looking really bad this year, which sucks because I have a lot of their players on my fantasy teams. But I like the Seahawks a lot this year, and especially in this matchup.
I love the Seahawks in this one. I think that they'll take care of business. I don't see this being very close at all. So yeah, that's that for me. That's all the analysis I could give on that front. I think you covered it.
Okay, next up is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles, which means it's a home game for the Colts. What do you think?
I am very much a home game for the Colts. Like I said earlier, I'm a little higher on the Colts than most are, even after Andrew Luck retired, and I think that the offense has a ton of weapons on it. The offensive line is the best in the NFL. I think the defense has a lot of young players that are playing really well, especially Darius Leonard. And I just think that this team is at a point that I know it's the Chargers. I know that they're relatively well, but Derwin James being out and their offensive line not having Russell Okung there, and their Melvin Gordon also taking a back seat, and Phillip Rivers, I just don't know whether or not he's going to be. He's always on and off for me, and I can't believe in the Chargers completely right now. And I'm going to pick the Colts as my team chaos for the week. So
I partially dared you to do this last night.
Yes, you did, actually. But I was leaning in this direction anyway, but yes.
Yeah. I'm still going to go with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Just because the Brissett, I think, will still be fine, but will take a bit to establish himself.
Sure.
You have the Melvin Gordon holdout with the Chargers, but I still think that Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson are going to do just fine enough in place of him.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
I've got the Chargers here.
Yeah. All right. So that's our first disagreement of the evening.
Yep.
Next up, the New York Giants going up against the Cowboys. All I'm glad is that it's not in prime time, because I'm so sick and tired of seeing this game on Sunday Night Football. It will not be this year because the other game is on Monday Night Football. But it's gonna be interesting because we don't know if Ezekiel Elliott's gonna play yet or not. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a deciding factor here, but it may. We'll see how it plays out. But it's going to be. I find this game fascinating just to see what the Cowboys look like right now and what the Giants look like if Eli Manning is truly having the great training camp that everyone says he is. So, what do you think?
I don't think that the Giants stand a chance.
Okay.
In all honesty.
No, that's fair.
It's in Arlington. The Cowboys are going to be fine on both sides of the ball, even if Zeke's not there. Amari Cooper potentially missing concerns me, but not too much. And they'll be fine. both sides of the ball of the Giants, save for Saquon Barkley, are a mess right now.
Right. I mean, I actually did forget about the about Amari Cooper
Yeah.
potentially being out. But even with that being said, Michael Gallup is a very nice wide receiver for the Cowboys. Wide receiver for the Cowboys.
Wide receiver.
But I love it. I love what the Cowboys have right now. I'm not gonna. I don't like praising the Cowboys, but they do have a good team at the moment. And if it would be very surprising if this ends up being like turning sour for them, but it happens to them because it's the Cowboys. But I think they're gonna win this game. Cowboys probably by like 14 or whatever. I'm not gonna put money on that, but
right. All right. Next up are the Detroit Lions going to Arizona to face the new Arizona Cardinals. Detroit Lions had a pretty bad year last year, but not as bad as the Cardinals, who finished last in about every metric you can analyze.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win this game?
This is a tough one for me, but I think the fact that Patrick Peterson is going to be out in this game is a factor, and I think that the fact that I just don't know what this offense is for the Cardinals is leading me in the direction of the Lions. I think that I like Kerryon Johnson. Matthew Stafford's on and off for me, but he has Kenny Galladay still, and I think Marvin Jones, if I'm not mistaken. Offensive line is all right, but I think they lost a lineman in the preseason, an important lineman. The question is going to be this defense, and I always question the defense with this team, but with Matt Patricia leading the way, I don't know. I don't even know if that's a compliment or not, but
yeah,
I like Lions. I'll go Lions in this one.
Okay, I'm going to say that this is 1 week where the weird new Death Stranding offense pays off, and I'm going to Team Chaos the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
If you'll count that as Team Chaos,
sure, I'll count it because I think that the Lions are a little bit more optimism going into the season than the Cardinals. So I think for this week we'll let it slide. I'll let it go through on this one.
They finished last year, and they're so unknown what they can actually do.
Exactly. Lions, there's something established there, and there's I think a good amount of talent in a lot of different positions for the Lions. It was a debate whether or not this is all 4 teams in the NFC North that are going to be really good this year, with the Lions being could be good. I'll go Team Chaos. I agree with your Team Chaos that it could work out in that way. But I'm going Lions myself.
All right.
Next up, the San Francisco 49ers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jameis Winston will debut his offense Bruce Arians will debut his offense with Jameis Winston in it. And the 49ers are going to get back Jimmy Garoppolo, and there's so many questions around whether or not he's going to be good this year. What do you think? I don't even know if I like this game to pick.
The Arians combined with the chemistry already formed between Winston and his receivers are going to, bulldoze the 49ers defense.
Yeah.
The 49ers, I think, have some potential, but we don't know if Garoppolo is going to be back to his form yet, and it's uncertain what the future of this team is right now. So I think that even though the Buccaneers have a new head coach, their defense is still atrocious. They added a couple pieces such as Sue and one of their draft picks,
Devin White,
who could help at least step it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go Buccaneers.
Yeah, Devin White will be a good linebacker for them, and I think that it's a decent replacement for Quan Alexander, who is on the other team. I did pick the Niners initially with this, but I've been debating this whole time, and I'm like, I don't know. I think you've swayed me in the Buccaneers' favor, though. I think as much as I have questions about the Bruce Arians offense for Jameis Winston and how it fits, I do love Bruce Arians as a head coach, and I think The defense will get it. I also think the 49ers have a lot of injuries that they have to deal with. I don't think Bosa is going to be available out of the gate. There's a few injuries that they're going to have to deal with right now, and I just don't see them being 100%. And I don't completely trust Garoppolo right now. So I'll go Bucks.
Right.
On that front. All right.
Next up, Sunday Night Football, where we have the Pittsburgh Steelers facing off against Super Bowl champions New England Patriots.
Yeah.
This feels like a yearly matchup, but it's not supposed to be. Patriots just happen to be facing the AFC North this season, it seems.
Yes.
Yes. Pittsburgh travels to New England. This is a marquee team matchup for Sunday Night Football. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
I'm gonna say Patriots right now. I'm higher on the Steelers than you are, but yes. This is one of those seasons where I'm actually very, very high on the Patriots on the front of I try to go into each season with a little bit of skepticism because I want the Patriots not to go to the Super Bowl. And this year it's I don't know if that's gonna happen. But I have a lot of hope in this Patriots team. I'm gonna lock them in for this game.
That's your lock?
Oh no! I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm picking them. I'll say the words
okay.
guarantee. Just
yeah. Okay. All right. There we go.
What do you think?
So I'm also gonna go with the Patriots. The Steelers losing Antonio Brown, I don't think is gonna affect them that much. Just because I think Juju is a fantastic wide receiver, and either Moncrief or James Washington can step up as that number 2. But the Patriots just are the Patriots.
Yeah,
and in Foxborough at prime time, it's not going to
work.
Not going to work for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, Monday Night Football in Part 1. The Texans will be going to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints, of course, first game since their NFC Championship game lost. And the Texans are just, they're hoping that this kind of this 2 to 3 day week rebuild that they just had will pay off for them in some way. 2 playoff teams. Who do you think's going to take this?
It's a little bit tricky, but I think that top to bottom, the Saints are a lot better, and especially on offense, you have Kamara, you have Breeze, you have Michael Thomas, who are all going to be superstars on the top of their positions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have Watson and Hopkins on the Texans as well, but the Saints also have players on defense.
Yeah,
that the Texans don't have as much. Other than J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go with the Saints.
I'm also going to go with the Saints, and I'm going to lock it up. Guarantee him.
Yep.
Because Texans are good in some ways, but I'm not really that high on them this year. I am not completely in agreement with how they went about the offseason, especially the last few days. And I'm all for protecting Deshaun Watson, don't get me wrong. I think that was a good pickup. I don't agree with how they just gave up Clowney for nothing. And I think the Saints, like you said, top to bottom, are a great team. I was a little worried with how Breeze played the end of the year. I thought he kind of started to show his age a bit. I'm hoping that with a off-season off, that he's back to being the Breeze that we know. So I'm going with Saints.
All right. And then finally, our Monday Night Football game. Second Monday Night Football game at the early hour of 10:20 p.m. Eastern Time is the Broncos at the Raiders. We talked about the Raiders a lot earlier and how we don't see much in them. But the Broncos are a little bit unproven as well. New head coach, new quarterback, new almost everything. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I for some reason we're using the ESPN software. I see that the Raiders are favored in this game, I don't see that, and I don't agree with that
No.
because I think that the Broncos. I'm actually pretty high on the Broncos this year. Not, I mean, I would say like wild card high. Um, because I think that the defense with Fangio is going to be very, very good, and I think that that Joe Flacco, who played well when he was healthy last year, I think has the weapons to do well this year. Raiders, I just think, have a lot of questions overall, and I just think I need those questions answered early on for me to really understand this team. So kind of like where I'm saying with the Cardinals, where I can't really pick them because I just don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of the same thing with the Raiders at the moment. So I'm going Broncos to win this game.
Yeah, you get Vic Fangio with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and even if it's the first game with them, the Broncos are going to be good enough to beat this Raiders team. So I'm going Broncos.
Yeah, definitely. And so when it's all said and done, I believe that's only two disagreements, and I think it's both for Team Chaos. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So that's that usually happens. I think with us with it where we're in lockstep a lot. And I think there's only like one or two games that we disagree on, but then there's the weeks that we're like half the field is like we're completely picked differently. But yeah, so that's what you can expect from us during the season. And it's gonna be a lot of fun picking games, and we'll see how the standings shake out on that front. But before we go, usually that would be the end of the podcast, but we have just a few more predictions that we want to get out of the way.
Some bonus stuff for week one.
Bonus stuff. Matt, you go first. Give me your division winners.
My division winners for the NFC are New Orleans, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia.
Okay.
On the AFC front, New England, Baltimore, Houston, I still think wins the division, and Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I with you completely on the NFC. Eagles, Bears, Saints, Rams. And for me, for the AFC, it's Patriots, Browns, Colts, and Chiefs.
Okay.
That's where I stand on that. And the wild go ahead, wild cards.
Yeah, my wild card teams on the NFC side are actually Atlanta and Minnesota.
Okay.
I think Atlanta's going to get something together this year.
Yes.
And then on the AFC side, Kansas City obviously still makes it in. It's going to be just kind of flipped what Chiefs and Chargers did last year.
Yep.
And Cleveland.
Okay. I'm going to go Vikings and the boys, Cowboys, and I'm going to go Ravens and Broncos for the other one.
That is bold.
It is bold, but I gotta take, because here's the thing: when I have this list here, there's like 3 different teams from the playoffs last year. There's usually like 6 or 7 different playoff teams, at least in from year to year. So I gotta throw in a unique one, and I felt like the Broncos is my best bet at this point.
Yeah.
Justified it in my mind. So yeah, big surprise for me. Neither of us chose the Seahawks.
Yeah,
because it's
I
tough.
still think that the Seahawks are good, but
yeah,
the teams are actually like more and more teams are starting to actually be good.
Right. Yeah.
Where a few years ago it was like there are 5 AFC teams. Actually,
I thought you were going to say period. I thought you had 5 AFC teams.
That's almost what I was going to do, because none of the rest of the division did anything.
Yeah. It's truth though.
The conference rather.
Right. Yeah. So I remind me to write that down because I was not writing while we were talking about that. But yes, I completely agree with you almost entirely in the NFC except for the Falcons. But I have completely different division winners. For sure, for the AFC. Super Bowl picks. What do you think?
Super Bowl picks. I have to go with Chicago on the NFC side. I think it's possible. It's not the most likely thing to happen on the NFC side, but this is the best chance that we've had in years.
Mm.
since we were in the NFC Championship. This is the best team and situation we've been in. So
Yeah.
I wanted to happen. I'm predicting it to happen. I'm going with it. On the AFC side, even though the Chiefs don't win the division, they're still going to make the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Have a wild card team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So Bears Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Saints. I would think that they come back from a tough loss, for them, in the NFC Championship game, and they make it to the Super Bowl. I think they will ultimately win the Super Bowl. The AFC team I'm gonna pick is the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh my god. Chris.
I'm riding high on the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm not looking back. Let's go. And you know who I have the most faith in of everyone is Frank Reich. I think he's dealt with this situation with Nick Foles before. Jacoby Brissett has the talent to be a Nick Foles again, and this team is talented enough to make the run and make it to the Super Bowl. I have faith. I think this could happen. I'm gonna go with it.
Okay.
So Saints versus Colts in the Super Bowl. All right, and last but not least, let's go through some of our awards here. Let's start with MVP. Who do you think is going to be the MVP for this year?
MVP. I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz.
Oh, okay, I like it.
I think that he had an MVP season a couple years ago that ended with an unfortunate injury, and he has the most weapons this year that he's ever had.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to really work in his favor and help get him back to MVP status.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm going to go Drew Brees and Saints, and he's going to break the MVP curse by winning the Super Bowl. I have a lot of faith in him that he'll come back from his end of year stretch and end up having a fantastic year. Maybe retire when it's all said and done. We'll see.
Yeah.
Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara for the Saints because he's the running back, the center running back now. He's the star of the show in terms of that offense, in terms of the training of their offense. So I'm going to go 2 Saints there, and I think that he's going to do very well this year.
I also chose Alvin Kamara for the same reasons.
Oh, awesome. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll go Alvin Kamara. Because I think that, yeah, Mark Ingram...
He's such an explosive player on
one
of the best teams in the league.
Exactly. Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year, I got to go with Khalil Mack. I don't think Aaron Donald wins it 3 years in a row. It's very likely with him.
Yeah.
But with another year in the Bears system, and if Mack plays a whole season, Mack could win this MVP award.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Aaron Donald. I'm gonna play it safe on this one.
Okay.
I think he's gonna do it. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm gonna go with David Montgomery.
Okay.
I think that the other kind of candidates for it would be like Kyler Murray and Josh Jacobs. Arizona, you don't know what they're doing yet. Oakland is a wreck, and despite Josh Jacobs guaranteed to get a lot of volume, that won't necessarily translate to an outstanding performance. David Montgomery is in the best situation, I believe, to really break out.
Yeah. I think that's fair. You actually didn't even name who I thought was Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think it's gonna be Devin Singletary, and I think that with LaShawn McCoy being no longer with the team, I think that he's going to take the main load. I think he's going to take the league by storm. I don't know.
I totally agree with you. My only thing is I don't know how much. I don't think Devin Singletary is going to get a lot of work early on.
He's thrusted into the. I mean, he might Frank Gore. He'll probably balance with at first, but I think he can prove that he's the fact that they released LaShawn McCoy completely out of the picture and are trusting Devin Singletary enough to be part of that running back by committee type thing. I think that he may. I think that he may show up enough where they might not even rely on Frank Gore after a while, and that they're gonna use him a lot. And I think that I don't think the Bills are a playoff team, but I think that he'll get enough attention where it'll be like Barkley last year, not so much in terms of talent, but that a non-playoff team has him as a player and he'll win it.
Yeah.
So I'll go Devin Singletary on that front.
All right. What about your defensive rookie of the year?
I'm gonna go. This is just because I want it to happen. Quinn Williams, my boy.
Yes.
I love him very much.
Yes.
I was there when he said that he was gonna touch himself on Madden.
Play with himself.
No, I know. I purposely. But I think that he's gonna be blessed this year, and he's gonna really do a good job, and I'm really rooting for him. And I think he's gonna start the year kind of like Devin Singletary, where he's gonna be a backup, maybe rotated in. I think he'll play his way onto the field more, and he's gonna dominate on the line and torture quarterbacks. So I'm gonna go Quinn Williams.
Awesome. For my defensive rookie of the year, I'm going to go with Devin Bush on the Steelers.
Okay.
I think that he's in a great situation where he can kind of be the star of this defense that doesn't have a ton of stars, and really show up and help this team not be the third team in the AFC North. Which is wild to say about the Steelers.
Yeah.
But the Steelers still have a shot, even though I'm really high on Cleveland and Baltimore. The Steelers still have a shot, and I think Devin Bush has a chance to take him there.
That him filling the Ryan Shazier role is huge, and so I think that he's going to play a huge role. I think if my heart was not set on Quinn Williams, I would have chose Devin Bush as well. So I think he's a very good player. I think he's going to really show up this year. It's going to be a fun year for that. Coach of the year, you go first. I think that's the order we're going.
We haven't really been doing much with that.
Yeah,
it's fine. Coach of the year, I'm going to say Freddie Kitchens.
Okay, all right.
Brings the Browns from obscurity to stardom.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna go Freddie Kitchens. I'm gonna go Frank Reich because I just think it makes most sense that the Colts who go to the Super Bowl in my predictions that he's the coach of the year because he would deserve it at that point. And who's your comeback player of the year?
Comeback play of the year kind of ties in to one of my playoff picks.
Okay.
I think comeback play of the year is going to be Devonta Freeman.
Okay.
Comes back, was injured all of last year. Yeah, there are little offensive line issues, but Devonta Freeman is a insanely good running back.
Yeah.
Who, when healthy, can really help this Falcons team be in that upper echelon of offenses.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a player that I don't think that people are gonna think of, and I'm hoping that changes as the year goes on. And it will depend, like you said, on this, or at least my team that I put in the playoffs. And that's Travis Frederick, and the center for the Cowboys. He was out all year with a disease that he was dealing with. I forget the name of it.
Right.
I apologize. But he was out all year, and this dude is like the best center in the NFL right now. And if he comes back and he plays at that level and that offensive line is shored up once again, that team is going to be hard to beat. And I think that he will be a big reason why, and he deserves to have that comeback player of the year if he gets it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. So,
awesome.
My friend, we have completed our first episode of the Virtual Ball Boys. I'm very excited with how this is going to end up playing out. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I kind of just want to talk real quick. This is the kind of flagship / premiere of a kind of podcast group that we're doing.
Yeah.
Called Teamcast Productions. You'll hear that in our branding everywhere. But I really hope that if you're listening to this or you found it from somewhere else, that you give our other shows a try. And we don't have any yet, but I'm excited that this is the beginning of our brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. We have a gaming podcast coming within the next few weeks called The Gaming Coop, which I will be hosting with a rotating group. We have some other shows. Do you want to mention your show as well?
Yeah, sure. Starting probably sometime in October, maybe later. I will be hosting the Dock of Shame podcast, which is a total drama retrospective, which I'm really excited for.
Yes, and Total Drama, if you do not know, is a great anime show based off of Survivor and a lot of those reality TV competition shows. So it's very good. Please watch it before we listen to the podcast. It will be a great listen when we get to it.
We've got a lot of other stuff planned as well that I'm really excited to get started, and I hope that you'll continue with us on that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And as for this, you'll see a new episode of the Virtual Ball Boys every single Wednesday. The time
throughout
when
the NFL season, maybe beyond.
Yeah, so my hope is that we'll do every Wednesday throughout the NFL season, and then maybe go bi-weekly or something during the off season, just to kind of give us more room to breathe a bit when things are not as completely frequent, and we're on top of each other with the picks and everything. Like that gives us time to calm down. So but I hope to make this a year-long podcast. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much covers a lot of bases right now. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.